Bro, thank you for coming, man. You know, it's you know, you hit me last week about, you know, coming out here. You know, it's been a long last week or so, just with, you know, family and everything, but you're here. You know, we're in my living room. We're in Westchester. You know, we're overlooking LAX right now, West LA, and it's beautiful, man. I'm glad you're here.
Had to come check in on my bro, make sure he was good.
Yes, sir, man.
So definitely glad I could make it out. And, you know, I love LA, I love Cali. So
this is your home, technically.
Yeah. So what better way to what better place to bring back the jam sessions than coming to Los Angeles, California.
That's it.
And get into this. So again, I hope y'all enjoy this. It's gonna be a great episode. So put on your seatbelt, get your drink, whatever it is you like. I mean, it's the holiday season, so after this, I'm probably gonna give me a little glass of eggnog because that's my jam. Virgin,
pun intended.
Right. But yeah, welcome to the jam sessions.
Dude, here we are, man. We're back in my living room. When was this? When was the last? Was it a year ago, bro?
It was a year ago because that's when I came out for your birthday.
Hey, y'all. So, well, tell them the story in terms of like what happened. Like,
so, actually, originally, Rob was my first guest on the podcast. I've always done it myself. I flew out to LA, hang out with my boy for his birthday. We sat here and recorded an amazing episode.
Yeah.
Then when I went to take it off to give to him because he's an amazing engineer, so he could mix it and make us sound good, the files were corrupt, and basically I had the wrong type of memory card in there. So it wasn't the right one to record the audio. So, you know, for just those for future references out there that want to get into stuff like this or video, make sure you're paying attention to your specs on your memory cards, because all memory cards are not created equal. There are even some you can get for a camera, and if you don't have the right one, it'll chop up your videos into little clips versus just having one clip of the whole video. I've had that happen before. So just make sure that when you get your devices that you read the manuals for what are the best, or go on YouTube and figure out what are the best cards. So anyway, we lost that episode, but when I got home, I fixed that and went immediately and bought the right memory card, and I've recorded podcasts with it, and so I know this card works. So we're good. I guess as a backup, I probably could have connected my iPad and recorded it also into Logic on my iPad or my laptop, and we'd have had it in two spots. Well, no, you wouldn't, because you can choose to either record to the memory card or to USB, so it still went one way, but I'm sure we're good. So that's what happened. I know it was a good episode. I don't totally remember. Well, I kind of do remember. I think we were talking about like Michael Jackson and like some stuff that he did that I don't know if it was unreleased or just stories around that music that he did. So it was really good, but we were having a good conversation earlier.
Yeah.
Driving around trying to do our last minute Thanksgiving food shopping. And I had asked you a question. I'm going to ask you again, specifically from the era of the 90s. You grew up in Indiana. I grew up in California, up in the Bay Area. And so my question to you was, being in Indiana, technically the Midwest, as it related to like, I guess music overall, but I was talking hip hop. Which way did you, if you did, which way did you lean more to East Coast hip hop or West Coast hip hop. Yeah. So kind of share, what's your answer?
Well, I'm sure most of you don't know who I am, but a little bit of my background in terms of how I grew up. So for the most part, I was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. But a good portion of my upbringing too was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So my mother is from Harlem, New York, and my father is from a small town in northeast Indiana called Marion, which is where I was born. So growing up in a house musically, you had my mother's influence and my mother's ear, which was very much Manhattan, New York. Your Luther Vandross's, your disco dance records. You know, she loved Barry White. She loved, my mom was, she wasn't a party animal per se, but she loved to dance and have fun. So she, that's what she did, So now the other half of me, growing up in Indiana, for the most part, the Midwest is the home pretty much of funk music. So with that, I grew up listening to a lot of funk. So naturally, West Coast hip hop, the foundation of it is funk music. Also, I grew up a skate kid, so the way I dressed naturally was, I wore a lot of skate stuff. Pendletons, Chuck Taylors, Vans, Dickies, a lot of that. So a lot of people would say, and plus I had long hair as a kid, so a lot of people would, say I look like I was, from California or, from SoCal or whatever. So I definitely leaned a little more toward West Coast hip hop earlier. But as I got older, of course, being on the East Coast a lot too as a kid, I was listening to Tribe and listening to the Neptunes heavy. They're from VA, so I was there, a lot throughout the years that I grew up. So, and my mother being from New York too, so I always consider myself half city, half country, half Midwest, half East Coast, just because of the influence, just because of the upbringing and things like that. So, but to answer your question straight out, I would probably say West Coast hip hop definitely had more of an influence on me, and it caught my ear a lot easier.
Yeah, it's the same for me as far as like West Coast. Now, I grew up in California, so kind of by default, I went West Coast. But a lot of what drew me to West Coast is I felt like they're very musical. Mm-hmm. One artist that I grew up really liking was DJ Quick.
Yeah.
And if you listen to like a lot of DJ Quick's albums, they always had live instrumentation on them.
Yeah.
And he's a musician.
Right.
And I feel like you ran across that a lot more, at least in that time, on the West Coast than I seen on the East Coast. And as a musician, that just I always thought it was cool to have rap on top of live instruments versus just always being programmed.
Yeah.
Which isn't nothing wrong with that. The Neptunes was killing. They were mastering, like, we're gonna make these beats super simple, mm-hmm. but like drop it like it's hot.
Yeah.
That's not overly produced. It's not, but it banged. You know what I'm saying? And so but I also did appreciate East Coast rap or even East Coast music. It was like when I was in a certain mode, I'm gonna throw on some Biggie or 112 or Timbaland and Magoo. Like I loved Timbaland and Magoo. Now my mom was born in Richmond, Virginia, so I got Virginia roots, as it were.
R.I.P. to Magoo.
Right.
Actually,
we
lost him this year.
that was so crazy because I was just like maybe a day or two before the news of him passing, I was just talking to, I think, my cousin about, I was like, yo, I wonder where Magoo is. Like,
you know, it's interesting. A lot of people didn't know this, but for a while, there was kind of this thing going around where people were kind of dissing Magoo and saying, yeah, this was maybe this was around the time when, this is maybe 2015, 2016. There was just conversations in terms of like, y'all remember that dude Magoo? And the people who were like, yeah, a lot of the conversation afterwards was trying to say that he was corny. You know what I mean? Like man, Magoo couldn't rap, you know, this and that. It became kind of a thing. But with that, it kind of became a thing of like, matter of fact, where is Magoo? Where has he been? And a lot of people don't know that although he wasn't in the spotlight rapping anymore, he took a lot of the money he made in music and bought real estate. He was actually doing pretty well for himself.
Wow.
You know, and I believe he went back to Virginia and was, you know, living there as far as I know. You know, we don't know in terms of what happened, why he faded out of the spotlight. We don't know if he had health issues or what, but a lot of people don't know. But when they were teenagers, Timbaland, Magoo, and Pharrell had a hip hop group together.
Really?
Yeah. It was called SBI, Surrounded by Idiots.
Wow.
So if you go on YouTube, whoever's listening, if you go on YouTube and type in Surrounded by Idiots, you can find a lot of their music from when they were teenagers. They were like in high school. Timbaland was the DJ. He went by DJ Timmy Tim or something like that. Pharrell was rapping and Magoo was rapping. They were such Tribe Called Quest lovers, they wanted to kind of create their own Tribe-esque group. Because when you listen to it, it sounds like Tribe, but it's them. It's the three of them. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's funny because Magoo kind of has that Q-Tip sound a little bit.
Yeah, as I'd say, a lot of people would say that him and Q-Tip sounded very similar.
So, but yeah, R.I.P. Magoo.
Yeah, dude, I didn't know. I'm gonna have to YouTube that.
Yep.
Surrounded by Idiots.
SBI.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, like, now it's like, what is Q-Tip doing?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm sure he's probably working on something. You know, it's hard to say.
Yeah. But speaking of which, I know we were also talking about, and I need to download it because I haven't heard anything except the one track, a little bit of the one track you let me hear today. But Andre 3000 and his flute record.
Do we talk about that right now? You know what's crazy?
We don't. That could be another episode.
It could be,
but
we can touch it for a moment. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. You know, I think, like you said earlier, because I remember chatter happening within the last 2 months. Oh shoot, we hearing that Andre's in the studio working on an album, so people started rubbing their hands together. You know,
yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, if you really follow Andre, which I do, you know, I've gotten some stuff from Andre. I have some exclusive stuff in my closet that he sent me. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I'll show you after this episode.
Yes.
Andre's a super cool guy. But anyway, so for those who really know Andre and who really kind of keep up with what he's doing, you knew that he was not about to give you a hip hop album. So, definitely knew it was going to be a flute album. But I haven't heard the whole thing yet. I've listened to the first track, but I respect where he is right now. I respect, you know, I think what he did is he definitely carved a new highway for people, because he's easily, in terms of rapping and ability of rapping, arguably he's easily top 5 rappers of all time. To the point where a lot of times people don't even put him on the top list. Like they kind of leave him off because it's almost like it goes without say. Like right. Andre's just in such a world of his own to where they don't even compare him to Jay. Yeah. They don't compare him to Big. They don't compare him to your top rappers usually. So for an artist like that, who has, let's be honest, who has always been very flamboyant and sort of Afrocentric, for him to go as far and make such a bold decision to put out a flute album, you know what I mean? Right. Like, that's going to open up other artists to potentially experiment and do some other things and maybe go somewhere else with their career musically. That's just like hearing imagine if Jay-Z said, yeah, I started playing the clarinet 3 years ago. As a matter of fact, putting out a clarinet out. People would be like, what? You know?
Right.
Shoot. Imagine Kanye putting out what if he took up, it's funny because it's the flute. What if Kanye is putting out a viola album?
I mean, we're talking Kanye, so at this
That's
point,
probably not the best.
Right.
Person.
Can you put anything past him?
People would honestly probably embrace it way more than they would Andre's flute album.
But here's the thing. I think now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, because I didn't even think about it this way earlier, I think part of the reason people aren't embracing it or were upset that it's a flute album and it's not like a hip hop album or him rapping is, I think, because of the state of music these days, even the state of hip hop. Like these new age rappers, they're on some weird stuff. It's either you can't understand anything that they're saying, or like it's of no substance. If you really think about those eras of rappers, I mean, you got the Jay-Z's, you got the Nas's, you got the Black Thoughts. Like it's like to listen to their lyrics and the stuff that they're talking about. It wasn't surface level. It wasn't all, oh, I want to F your B and like, let's go get this. Like they were really talking about, and I think the only kind of newer person that I think is in that arena with them, and I'm not saying that there aren't others, but this one in particular is your boy. He's out here. Kendrick, yeah. Like you listen to Kendrick stuff and his lyrics, he would fit in right with all of them, you know.
A friend of mine said something to me years ago that it changed the way I looked at artistry, especially the music business and artistry within that. He said, if you can take, this is how you can also, it's a way of measuring somebody's greatness. He said, can you take, in measuring someone's talent, can you take them and put them in any decade, would they be successful?
That's good.
Take Andre 3000, and we're in the 2020s right now. He would destroy if he decided to rap.
Absolutely.
2010s, destroy. 2000s, he did destroy. 90s, he did destroy. If you put him in the 80s, he would destroy. Now the 70s rap, the late 70s is when rap really started to kind of become a thing. But, you know, but for the sake of rapping, we can start in the late 70s. Can you put any rapper in the beginning of rap and then put them all the way up to this day? If you can say they would be successful, then I think that's a testament to their talent and their ability. Take a Future or let me say this, not to name names. Take any who people would classify as a mumble rapper, put them in the 80s. Could they have a career?
Absolutely not.
So guess that doesn't leave much room for conversation and debate about that. But, you know, it's just like now more than ever, you don't really honestly have to have talent to have musical success.
Not at all.
You know,
It's
weird.
Can we market?
But
You know, can we market you? And it's funny because it's like people will buy whatever you sell them. Almost, you know, the general public. That's why you don't, you know, if the beat's dope, we're gonna go for it. If I can dance with it, if it's a club banger, then like it's a winner. We don't care about the content of it. Like I think that's what we were talking about that last episode that got destroyed. Time that nobody makes timeless music anymore.
yeah.
And that's to your point when you're saying like, would you be successful in the 80s and 2023?
Right.
You really don't. Let me tell you, Michael Jackson, absolutely. That's why you still hear his stuff. That's why people are still sampling his music. That's why you could probably put out re-release a Jackson 5's record right now, and it's gonna sell. You know, I feel like that with someone like when you talk rap, a Run DMC, you know, or even like you said, like P-Funk. They're not rappers, but you look at it like how much of his stuff was freaking Snoop and Dre sampling on Snoop's records. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very funk driven, like you said, and it's all of these things that you look at artists like that for years to come, their stuff is going to be that. I think there are songs that like Jay-Z has or Big and different people like that for years to come. You drop Jesus, the Notorious, Just Please Us. Like that can go and people are gonna instantly sing the lyrics, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gin and Juice.
Absolutely.
Like it'll be those things, but
even just the phrase, my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Yeah, I think it'll be things like that are, but it's like this new era of music or this new time period of music. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but for the most part, it's really not. It's cool, I guess, for now, but would my grandkids be on it? Probably not.
Right.
You know, and I think that was the frustration with Andre 3000 not doing album like that. I think people are longing for that stuff again. Jay-Z's not. He's retired. You know what I'm saying? And I will tell you what though, what's his name? Because of that reason, what's his name album is probably gonna go super hard when it drops. Busta Rhymes. Because he is gonna give you that.
Yeah.
And he put out the track list. His collaborations are pretty dope. And
I did already.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You can see it. He put out the track listing. And I just seen something the other day where they were talking about his producers list and who he used to produce. I heard is crazy too. So I think that, you know, for something like that, I mean, just in general, you know, I even look at Brandy just dropped a Christmas record. And it's like everybody's like Brandy's fan. We were all like, heck yes. She ain't dropped a record in a while, but it's just when you get a chance to hear like legit talent and it's just not you know, whatever is clever right now, like these are you cherish those. So I think people wanted him before that. But see, one thing I like about Andre, like when we were listening to that Kanye joint with him on it, like he'll give you rap, but there's some stuff that he does, depending on how the music is, it's very spoken word-ish versus rap. And I think he probably could have did a couple of interludes where he gave you some of that. Like, I'm not going to do this. It's going to be a flute album, but I'll give you a little something. I think people would have been like, okay, that's enough to hold us over. But if I were him, hearing the responses of the people like that, I'd probably get on the phone with Big Boy and be like, what if we just did a Outkast reunion joint? We don't even, like, my thing, we don't got to do a whole album. Let's do an EP.
You know what's crazy? It would surprise me if that ever happened again. I think Andre is, I think he's in such a different space to where, you know, I almost don't think that he would, I think he's beyond the point of caring, like, at all. Like, he could honestly wear a shirt with the letters IDGAF. Like, and it's almost like you don't even need to wear the shirt. Like, we see it. Bro, you put out a flute album. Period. You can put a period on the end of that sentence. You put out a flute album, bro. You are a rapper from Atlanta. You are from the most, honestly, now they can really say it, the most successful hip-hop group of all time is Outkast. And they just broke a record, a couple months ago, to where, I forgot what it was. Like, it's the, I think Speakerboxxx Love Below. I could be wrong. I think they said it's the greatest selling rap album of all time or something like that. Really? I forgot. Something like that. They just broke some record within music and hip hop that kind of solidified them as, in terms of success and numbers and all that. Hip hop group, Outkast, I believe, is number one now. But the guy from Outkast that was the super flamboyant one, that dude, for one, already with style and fashion and creativity within music, he put out a flute album. One of the greatest rappers of all time, top 5, put out a flute album of him playing a flute. And what I'm saying that to say, he doesn't care. And if you honestly listen to the stuff that he's saying in his most recent interviews, I listened to his NPR interview. There's no video, it's just audio. And then I watched his GQ interview that's like 30 minutes long. You'll learn quickly that he has given up his life of fame and living a celebrity lifestyle. The dude moved from New York. He now lives in Venice, California. He lives in Venice Beach. He goes to laundromats to wash his clothes. He walks around by himself every single day, goes to coffee shops, goes to, different little organic and vegan restaurants in the area. Like, he is now living as if he's a normal, average, everyday guy. He don't walk around with security. He walks around randomly by himself out and about as if he's a regular dude, playing his flute as he's walking. He washes his clothes at laundromats. Just, you know what I mean? Like, he's given up that. He doesn't wear expensive stuff anymore. Well, I mean, not expensive. Let me not say it like that, but he's not wearing a whole lot of typical designer stuff that most rappers will be wearing. He ain't wearing chains and jewels. He's wearing overalls, a t-shirt, and a beanie. And he's at laundromats washing his clothes. And I'm saying all this to say, he now is enjoying a life of simplicity. And he even had to ask himself, now that I decided to put this album out, do I want to sit here and do a press run and do interviews and tour and do all this stuff that comes with it? And he had to really think about that and make that decision, which he decided that he would. All that to say, for him to, and he talked about when Outkast did that reunion tour and did, Coachella and all that, which I remember watching that live and was so hyped. I remember they opened up the show with Bombs Over Baghdad. They had their dope little intro. Andre made all these different jumpsuits with different sayings on it, which he eventually made into a few shirts, which that's what I'll show you after we do this episode. But he sent me one. And all that to say, I don't, for him to muster up the energy to be social and to be on stage and performing and all that, it requires a lot of energy and commitment. And I don't know if he has the energy and the commitment to even care to do that anymore. Like he wants to be out of the spotlight and just be a normal guy. And actually, he said something in his most recent interview where he said that honestly, being famous is inhumane. Like it's not even healthy.
Yeah, I can see that. Look at Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
As weird as people wanted to say he was, I think everything he did, I think he didn't want that fame and spotlight that he had. He was larger than life. There was no way he was going to get away from it.
He wanted the benefits, but he didn't necessarily care about.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't? Right. Who doesn't want like to not have to worry about money and to be able to shop wherever you want, live wherever you want. I guess so. I guess it's the and it's kind of like how I feel or what I tell people about like touring or whatever. Because people are like, how do you like traveling like that you do?
Hold that thought real quick about touring. I want to say something about Michael really quick. Michael, here's even a point with Michael. Him chasing, he chased normalcy a great deal to where he rented out grocery stores on purpose, hired actors to play shoppers just so he could experience what it's like to be at a grocery store and shop.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
So yeah, and that's the thing. It's like when people ask me that, I'm like, yeah, you have a love-hate relationship with it. And I feel like that's how they are. It's like you love it. You love to be able to go get on planes. And then it's like you hate, though, after a while, like living out of a suitcase. And
that's what you were going to say about touring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, but the reason why you have the love-hate relationship with it is because you hate that aspect of it. But because you're a musician, your creative music is just in you. And I think that it's not a matter of does he have the energy, Dre, to do that. I think that he'll only do it if he can do it on his terms. Like, I don't think he wants to tour and do that whole stuff and be super famous. And I think that if he did, knowing him, he would probably I'm just gonna do like small coffee shops. But you think about it, this flute record, it doesn't require a band. Maybe you take a piano player and your flute, or you just take tracks in your flute. He could totally be like, you know what? I'm just going to do coffee shops. I'm going to do the one place that nobody would think, oh, well, he's too big to be doing something like that. And not even like Starbucks, like mom and pop joints. And he probably wouldn't even set it up. He'd probably just be like, oh, well, I'm in this town, and just see a coffee shop like, hey, do you mind? And it could be people that don't even know who he is. Like, do you mind if I just play? I don't want anything. And somebody walks down and I'm like, yo, that's Andre 3000. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that he would. Like, I could see them if he could do like, okay, if this is what people want, like they want to hear this again. All right, let's just give them an EP of some Outkast stuff. We're never going to tour it. We're not making music videos. We're just, people want to hear this. And I'm just going to give my fans what they want. And when I'm done with it, I'm done with it. Like, don't ask me to do the BET Awards. Like, don't ask me to do any of that stuff. Like, because he doesn't care about that. And I think when you say, like, Michael liked the benefits of it, this dude has been performing since he was a kid. It's in him. I think
he's been in the spotlight since he was 9.
I think he's in love with the music creation process. Mm-hmm. Like, because even when you listen to the interviews with Darkchild and he talks about working with Michael, he was like, yo, this dude was always like, think outside of the box. Like, let's take trash can tops and let's sample them. You know, like just stuff that I think he was just so in love with the creative process. And I think Andre 3000 is that same way. And for what it's worth, I feel like Kanye's that same way. and we might think they're weird, but it's just like they're so in tune with being creatives or creating something that sometimes it can be weird. But when you look at it, Einstein was weird. You know, all these people that were inventors of things, there was people who probably say they were weird, but I think when you're creative like that and you see things that no one else sees, then it's like you're not normal.
Think about who, and this is something that people got to think of too. Think about when people say they're weird, who is saying they're weird? People who are not creatives.
Exactly.
People who work 9 to 5s. You go to work every day, clock in, for the most part, do the same thing every day. You come home, you cook, you feed the kids, you live a normal average lifestyle, and you go to bed and you wake up and do it again the next day. It's like you wear a uniform to work every day. You wear a suit and tie. You have a white collar job. You have a blue collar job. You know, and I know for me anyway, the city I come from is very much like that. To where, you know, the vision that God gave me for my life and just me trying to, you know, navigate that. Even myself, I caught a lot of that. It's almost like I had to fight to have the life that I have now, because the life that I'm living now is a dream there. That's TV stuff. It's not real. No, come on now. Let's finish high school. Let's go to college, you know, graduate, and you go find a job like everyone else does. Find a job, a good company to work for. You know, you get your house on the hill, the American dream, find a wife, have kids, work, you know, get your 401k. You eventually retire when you're in your 60s, and, you know, and then you die, essentially, become a grandparent. And it's like, wait, you want to do what? You know what I mean? Like the life of being a full-time musician, or the life of being, you know, a full-time entrepreneur, or whatever that looks like, but especially in the creative arts world. In the Midwest, regular Midwest, not necessarily a Chicago or, you know, something like that, but average city, small town, in that area, that's fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
It's fantasy. So a lot of those people and those people are the ones who are quick to say you're a weirdo. And it's simply because all they're saying is, I don't understand it, therefore I don't like it, therefore you're a weirdo.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, I heard somebody talk about this before when they talked about that, and they're like, oh, well, you're not normal. And so they were like, well, who decides that? So if I'm different than you're saying that I'm not normal because the way you are is you consider to be normal. But what if the way you are actually isn't normal, and I am the normal one? And you get in, and it's like you said, and I think where we have messed up is that we have made success very materialistic, very material driven.